Okay, so let's get this whole thing started off here. Sorry for starting the call. It's a little bit late today. Okay, I did start the call a little bit late. I do apologize here. Been super slammed. Working on a lot of things here that is going to change the game of trading, going to change our group. Okay. Not just the flip challenge, but we're working on building a software here. And I'm not going to basically break down the entire software, but we're working on a lot of things here that are going to help people grow with trading, help them become better with trading, and most importantly, have them see success, okay, long-term in this space. So I'm super excited with what it is that we're building here. You know, obviously, what Trade by Design as a group as a whole is incredible, right? What we've been doing has been revolutionizing the game every single day in the Discord. You guys can see here people are winning consistently, right? You're seeing it on average here. People are constantly winning, right? And this is what I love to see. And these are just some of the screenshots. There's a bunch of screenshots that people don't even, you know, dump. So just imagine the screenshots here that, you know, we haven't put up here, which are insane. There's people that are crushing it, people that are killing it. You know, especially our VIP students here that are crushing it and killing it nonstop. So just be aware that we have a lot of people winning, and we're going to keep winning even more. You know, this is a lifetime thing. People that have been able to do this have been able to make money for the rest of their life. So focus on trading, guys. Focus on crushing this here. Okay, let's talk about what we have going on in the markets this week. I was reviewing this with some VIP students yesterday. They got a really good setup. So a lot of the setups that I already gave out to the VIP students this morning and also last night. So since Tuesday, I've already done 2 other sessions, one for VIP, and then one for the group and also TP. So a lot of the setups that I gave out, I've already kind of given. But let's see if we can catch some other trades here and then set everything up for tomorrow. So I'm streaming now 8 times a week, 9 times a week, which is insane. If you guys want more streams, feel free to message me or message somebody in the Discord and we'll be able to help you out. Okay, so let's now go back into this here. Okay. So when it comes to everything here, let's take a look at what's happening, right? When it comes to Wednesday, tomorrow, today was kind of boring. Thursday, we have some decent news for Euro. GBP, you do have some news here, but nothing crazy. And then obviously you have Friday retail sales. It's going to be a slow week in the market, guys. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to be a very slow week. One thing that I did emphasize to everybody earlier was what we have going on with Warsh. Okay, and I was talking about this a little bit on the VIP call. I'll talk about it briefly here, just because the market's already priced everything in, and the market's already kind of passed everything that we talked about already. So it's kind of irrelevant, but relevant to yesterday's news. It would have been relevant last night, but it's no longer relevant today. But I'm going to talk about how it helped us catch the setups, okay? Because again, like, you know, obviously a lot of you guys want to make money trading here, but a lot of times the news market is hyper rotational, so it moves very quickly. So when I say that, it basically means that sometimes news that happened yesterday is already kind of been priced into the market and it's no longer relevant. So last night, I'm going to kind of give you guys a summary of what I talked about on the VIP call last night, what we went over, and this is why a lot of setups kind of came into play. Talked about Kevin Warsh. Essentially, Kevin Warsh was being questioned very heavily on his financial assets being worth tens of millions of dollars. So the thing about Kevin Warsh is historically he's been known to be very bearish with the market because he loves to hike rates. Hiking rates normally just cuts the market and lowers the market value. Why? Because higher rates creates higher what? Creates higher borrowing, less spending, less investing for companies, and then also less, investment into it, which means less jobs. Less jobs means people feel poorer, less spending from consumers, and the cycle continues, right? Less spending from consumers, lower revenue for companies, etc. Whereas when you hike rates, okay, you're hiking revenues because essentially you're hiking the ability. I mean, when you're cutting rates, you're giving more leverage for companies to make more revenue. They expand and grow. They end up giving more money to people with their jobs or hiring more people, and that causes more spending. And then those jobs and those people that have jobs or consumers, they end up spending more money, and the cycle continues. So this guy here, basically, he has over $100 million worth of assets. And Elizabeth Warren was basically telling him, hey, look, you have $100 million in assets. We know, because you're about to be introduced into the Fed, we know, okay, that you can easily manipulate markets. And if you manipulate markets here, what's going to end up happening is not only are we going to know about it, not only are we going to know about it, but it's going to be easy for you to be able to make money. So on Tuesday's news, which was big, and this is kind of what I want to talk about, a lot of people were worried because Warsh will easily go into the federal government and then cut rates potentially. And that was the biggest fear. Democrats, specifically the Democratic Party, did not want him to come into office and have his own agenda, which is to, obviously take his assets, his financial assets, and to double or triple them. And he would be able to do so if he decided to cut rates. So they want the federal government, or the Fed chair, to be independent, not have a conflict of interest and have a lot of money in the markets while he's in charge of hiking or cutting rates, right? So that was the biggest thing. Elizabeth Warren was basically telling him, hey man, you have $100 million. Who's to say that you're going to come into the Fed and then influence the Fed to cut rates? Okay. And if you decide to cut rates, then you're going to take your 100 million and double it to triple it and make it 300 million guaranteed, because you're the sole head of the Fed, right? And he's saying, no, I'm going to sell everything. In simple terms, he's basically saying, I'll disclose everything I own and I will sell. And then they were questioning him, well, what is it that you own? Where did you get it from? Who do you share these assets with? And long story short, he basically said he didn't answer the question. And then Republicans started to push back and say, hey, look, this is unfair. He shouldn't need to sell all his assets here. But overall, the biggest issue was Warsh's wealth, right? That was the biggest thing. And honestly, seeing how it could be a conflict of interest for the Fed, for him to be the head Fed chair, and this brought markets down last night. Obviously Tuesday. So I spoke about this on the call. I was very, very aware that this on Tuesday earlier was going to happen. Right here around 10 a.m. I knew that the Warsh meeting would obviously bring a pullback in markets. Very aware of that. Let's look at where Warsh meeting was. The Warsh meeting was here. Yeah, so I was very aware that it being a pushback in markets and that it would hike Dixie. This is why I called buys here on Tuesday. And the market did exactly what we wanted it to do, which was amazing. And then even Wednesday, even earlier this morning, I called buys here on Dixie, that Dixie was going to go to the upside, and it finally hit our zone that we called back on Monday. So every single zone I've called since Monday has come true. I did a live session this morning as well, and I did a session for VIP students last night, and every trade basically executed to the T, right? We hit this here on Tuesday. We talked about, obviously, a pullback here on Wednesday. for VIP students. And then we also talked about a pullback this morning here for TP students here. So every single pullback on Dixie I've called here, here, and here, okay, to the T. And I called a mitigation and sell here. So we're literally predicting the market almost every single move step by step, which has been insane, right? We've been helping a lot of people make money. Step by step, everybody's been making money on this, right? If you're not making money on this, then I don't even know what to tell you, man. You probably hate money. You probably hate yourself. You probably create self-sabotage. Probably need to study the courses a little bit more here, because it hasn't been getting easier than this. Now, this is what I will say to you guys here on the call, okay? What I will say is this, is that because there's a lot of volume coming in soon, there's low volume, I mean, coming in from today. Next week, there's gonna be a lot of volume, okay? Now, I did call this even this morning here, you could see. Okay, I put it in the Discord, I'm pretty sure as well. Yeah. Oh, I put it in a different Discord. But I called shorts this morning here at 71.40. An area I was actually very curious about. And I set an alert here. And we just sold off. So we swiped liquidity here earlier, external liquidity right at this zone, and then obviously moved to the downside here. Okay, so what am I looking for? What am I looking for long term for tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow I'm looking for, this is the problem. This is the problem for what I'm looking for tomorrow. I called this live this morning, yes. So the thing about this is we're gonna get a pullback for sure. We just mitigated off this zone we called earlier this week on Monday. This is gonna pull back for sure. Where are we going next? Okay, I don't want to jinx myself because I've been right like 4 times in a row here, so I just want to be very, like, you know, careful how I say this here. But I believe that price right now, unfortunately, is in a sense in order flow, right? So far it's in order flow. So I don't like that, because when it is in order flow, it usually means that we're going lower. When you have an impulse move that goes down and then you have slow trends to the upside, it usually means that eventually we're going to go way lower with an impulse move. The thing about it, the benefit that we have is this area here, you see that? This area is called price discrepancy. Price discrepancy always needs to get filled. So because of that, I'm very confident that we're going to fill this area first. Once price discrepancy comes into play, then we're going to most likely move lower, right? So my thinking is this: because we see that coming into play, then what we need to do is we need to focus on what? We need to focus on the uptrend for now. Okay, so I'm seeing price come back here overnight. Dixie, obviously SPX and everything else to skyrocket, anything against Dixie. And then by tomorrow morning, what I'm expecting, just because this zone here, if you look at it, let's zoom in on this a little bit more so you guys can see it. Okay, this zone already here has been mitigated here, has been mitigated here. Now this area here has been mitigated. It needs to pull back and get remitigated around this zone here to then move higher, right? So what am I looking at then? I'm not looking at this area of mitigation. I'm looking at this area of mitigation, and I'm going to refine it right now. Okay, so I'll do this live here so you guys can see my refinement, or how I refine price. I'm going to refine it here. Refinement usually fits the area that I see where the sell the buy candle usually fell within a higher time frame, at least a 1 hour zone. So this is one zone, If I want to go into a little bit more of internal structure, I can kind of see it here, but I'm not going to execute here. This is the riskier zone where I could see Dixie bounce off of. The actual zone I expect it to bounce off of by tomorrow is most likely here. I'm not going to trade this overnight, okay? But I'm going to wait for setups tomorrow morning for a swipe of liquidity to then now target the next area that I have. And it's going to be this specific mitigation zone here around 98. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Next thing I'm looking for. Because I see prices with Dixie moving lower and then probably moving higher. I expect XPX to go to... I expect SPX to obviously fully come back, but I need to see a break. I can't confidently tell you guys here that I'm gonna sell SPX past this zone here. Reason is because it's recovering and it looks like it's in redistribution. Okay, what's redistribution? Wick-off theory, right? You usually get swipes of liquidities to the highs, swipes of liquidities to the lows, and then you get what? Then you get what? A lot of selling pressure here, right? So what I'm expecting here is some sort of swipe of liquidity here, for sure. Okay, so what I'm expecting is this, okay? Price to stay in this wick-off redistribution, okay? Some people call it consolidation. I call it distribution because we're going to have a move down, okay? I'm going to look for swipes of liquidity on this zone here of the distribution and the high of this distribution. Right? That's my biggest thing here. So we're gonna wait till tomorrow morning, but most likely I'm gonna short tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna look for more shorts tomorrow on the live session here. If it gives me an opportunity. Okay, last Tuesday, you know, for specifically last Tuesday, I didn't really call out that much of a huge trade here, and it was just because, you know, it looked okay, but wasn't anything insane. Gold was more of like the move. But I am going to be looking for shorts. The one thing I don't like about this is it's in redistribution. Okay, but I'm going to be looking for shorts tomorrow morning. I'm just telling you guys my bias for tomorrow, okay? Okay, so ES, same thing here. NQ. Let's look at US 30, because one thing I like to do is I love to look at higher time frames. Only reason I do, like let's say US 30 and SPX, is because it gives me a little bit of a perspective if we're going to have breaks of structure. Usually if you see breaks of structure on tech, you'll start to see tech will break first, then SPX will break second. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if you start to see price break structure downward here, specifically here, tech will break first and then SPX will break second. So if you start to see market confluences misalign, specifically with indices, you'll usually see SPX follow, right? The one thing is there's so much buying pressure here, I'm like almost unsure that I want to short anything at all because it looks like a mitigation for another run to the upside. Let's see what Dixie does. Dixie's going to dictate everything. In order for me to be in a confident sell, I need to see a close. But Dixie's going to decide that on the live session tomorrow. Let's look at the VIX one more time here. Okay. Do want to see it go lower and then start to ascend and fill this zone. Fill that zone. That'll really give us a good perspective here. Specifically with gold volatility too. You see that? Gold volatility is falling, which means gold is, to be honest, it needs to fill this and this zone here. Gold volatility following means the price of gold goes lower, at least for now. Gold historically in May is very bearish. Markets in May are historically bearish here. I think I see your comment, Danielle. I'll upload the YouTube link here in a bit. It was actually a private session for this morning. So that's why I didn't stream to everybody, but I'll send you the link and send it uploaded here in just a bit. So what we're looking at next right now is going to be, let's take a look at this. Oil, let's take a look at oil. So oil came back to the zone that I spoke about on Monday here, which is good. Most importantly, it's swipe liquidity, right? You see that? The swipe of external liquidity on the 4 hour didn't break above structure. Looks like it's about to close below. If it does end up doing that, we're gonna see the price of oil go lower, most likely. And if that does end up happening, you'll see oil probably come here. Now that is if, okay, I'm gonna repeat this one more time. If, you know, Trump doesn't threaten Iran and does some crazy stuff in the meantime, okay? But this right here, this specific area is a swipe of liquidity. Usually it means what? You swipe buyers and sellers, breakout traders, and now we're moving lower here. As long as, again, I can't help it if Trump decides to say something crazy, you know, it's, we can't help it, nor can we even predict it. You know what I mean? Give me a second, guys. Okay, so again, this is what I'm expecting one more time. I am expecting that will definitely affect price, okay? So let's look at how this closes. We need to see how this closes, okay? We need to see that 100%. So I would set an alert, guys. Look at how price closes here in the next 4 hours. Price usually closes here at 10 o'clock Eastern time. So look at how price closes. If it closes below, oil is a short, 100%. If it doesn't close below, if it closes above, be wary, because we probably might hit this area here, and we still have to fill this price discrepancy here, okay? And that means usually markets move with fundamentals. That means what? That means most likely Trump has some crazy news happening, right? Okay. I've been catching gold wick to wick. You know, obviously I called gold, you know, even on Tuesday morning, the sell here from the wick. You know, even on the session that I did with Wednesday for VIP, Wednesday night, I marked up gold here. Very, very confident on this particular candle here. Gold hit the wick of that area here really, really well. So I called sells last night on the VIP session for downward, which is insane. And then I called it only to fill this specific zone. The reason why was because I was looking specifically at what area was it? What candle was it? It was this particular candle here. Yeah, to fill this specific candle right there. Right. That's kind of why I only said that I was looking at that particular zone here on the VIP call. Okay, now gold is bullish. What's my thought process now? Calling two sells on gold. I mean, right now, gold's broken structure, right? So because it's broken structure here to this downside, regardless of how I feel, how bullish it looks, I am going to be a little bit hesitant on the bullish movement here. I am going to be just a little bit. In terms of me trading internal structure right now, there is a lot of volume that was captured here. A lot of volume put into gold. My thought process is this, very simple. What I want to do is I want to react to structure, okay? If this is just a swipe in liquidity, that's completely fine. What I'm looking for is something completely different. Okay, let's label this as the break of structure here. BOS. What I'm waiting for is to see how price reacts here. If we get a close above, it's completely fine. We're going to come back to this mitigation zone here. Okay. And I would just look for a pullback here tomorrow morning and then look for buys. Now, there's another scenario because the 30-minute and even the 1 hour hasn't closed yet. It's going to close maybe in 10 minutes. If it closes below the 1 hour, if the 1 hour closes below, then what I would do is I would probably look for tomorrow for more sells. So let's watch the 1 hour closing candle, see how that reacts tomorrow. Right now, I think it's going to break, to be honest. Just look based on volume on futures. Look at that. You see, look at all that. That mitigation, I think we're going to have a shift here temporarily, at least to come back to this high and this high, and then we'll probably go lower. That's just my opinion, but hey, I could be wrong. We'll check tomorrow morning. This morning I did call a USD CAD. That was also pretty good. 10 a.m. was a really good reversal time for CAD. So, I mean, CAD is kind of boring, but I did call CAD this morning as buys. USD JPY, kind of boring. I didn't trade GU or EU. I just don't like the way it looks. AU looks like garbage, dude. Like, this looks like if I want to waste and lose a lot of money, I would trade AU. Right now, Australian dollar US looks terrible. It looks horrible price action. Don't want to touch it. GU is almost in the same boat. This is where you lose a lot of money. You see that? 50 pips back and forth. This is where you lose all your money. This is why I don't trade this. This is terrible. This is good. This is good. This right here is where you lose money. Not worth the trade. Let's go back to total cryptocurrency market cap here. Top three, excluding alts. Alts, they look actually pretty decent for buys. Let's look at BTC. Wow, BTC went to 79K. This morning I kind of spoke about this here. I don't want to call it, how do I say it? I don't want to call the top and completely sell and go heavy on my sells just yet. I'm scaling in. But as long as we don't break above, did we break above this on a 4 hour? No, we haven't. So what I'm going to show you guys is this. Oh, we did actually. Now let's look at 8 hour. 8 hour we closed above. 12 hour. 12 hour we closed below. Daily we closed below. Okay. So when you have this with external structure, some big time frames like 4 hour, 8 hour closing above, and then you look at some like, you know, external, the big one, which is like the daily and like weekly. No, does that mean Bitcoin's bullish? No, doesn't mean that 100%. For now, yeah, but how do I know this isn't just a swipe of liquidity to get all the retail traders to buy? How do I know that? How do you know? Daily. Daily and 2 day never lie. And I'd rather go with 12 hour and daily more than 4 hour and 8 hour. Because this could just be a swipe of liquidity of 4 hour and 8 hour structure traders. So what I'm looking for is how it reacts here. If it does close above this zone, I'm going to have a different opinion. I'll say, hey, look, Bitcoin will probably, and there's a possibility because there's a mitigation candle right here, we'll probably go to 84, and there's a possibility it'll go to 81 for sure. But I think this is probably just a swipe of liquidity, considering the fact that the evidence is clear. SPX is exhausted, and SPX's correlation with Bitcoin is 70 to 80%. Just my opinion, I don't know. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. It's not like I've just gotten the last, like, you know, 3 wave moves on Dixie correct and gold correct and USD CAD correct this morning, but hey, you know, who the fuck am I? Okay, MSRT does look bullish. I like that Nvidia is bullish. This is good. This means that Nvidia is going to start running, but we have to fill here and we have to fill here. So there's got to be a pullback before Nvidia continues. All right, guys, and we'll be trading tomorrow morning. Love y'all, appreciate y'all, and I will talk to y'all soon. Have a good one, guys. Peace.